Thank you for still staying tuned to the Camlet TV Breakfast Show. We now transition into our first interview, where we are joined by a guest in studio, Mr. Michael Nkhosi, who is the Director for Youth Life Project Zambia, who is going to be helping us discuss various issues pertaining to our community in relation to the continued drug abuse that we have continued to see amongst our youths in various communities. Good morning.
Good morning, thank you.
We are glad to have you on set this morning.
The pleasure is all mine. It's always a good time to be here.
Every time I ask Soko when we come on set, is it a positive Monday for you as well?
It's always a positive Monday with us. I mean, youth is very active, And sometimes I wonder if we even have what we call weekends, because we are constantly in this working mode. Because when youth is up and active like that, it means we are actually working.
I basically know that you're not new to the screens of Camlet TV, but just for the sake of our viewers who are watching you for the first time, just help us understand what a Youth Life Project Zambia is all about.
Okay, so Youth Life Project Zambia is a youth-oriented organization. It is a social justice hub. It is a community-based organization that looks into the plight of the youth to ensure that we get equal chances to life. Especially those youths that are battling with substance abuse or addictions. They are the ones that we, under the Sober Youth Lab program, they are the ones that we actually work with. So the Youth Life Project Zambia is an organization that works with 4 pillars, or rather under 4 pillars. Pillar number 1 is youth skills empowerment and mentorship programs. We also have sexual reproduction health rights, which is under the General Wellness and Sensitization Program, and this particular one has got sexual reproduction health and rights,
which has been changed now to reproductive health.
Yes, and we also have climate change, then governance advocacy. That's what we have there. Then we also have rehabilitation, and our office offers what we call safe-free space for talent identification, nurturing, and development.
Quite interesting. We have seen that last month, even this month, we have seen police conducting various operations in relation to arresting these so-called junkies in our communities. Do you think this is a lasting solution in addressing issues pertaining to substance abuse?
You know, when you look at history, I think history plays a pivotal role on this one, because ever since as early as, or rather, just when we turned into a millennium, I think that was in the early 2000s. The police have been working with the drug enforcement and other agencies to curb this vice, and they've been visiting Chibolya. And for some reason, where we are standing as the Youth Life Project, we are worried because they are doing this, and they've been doing this for quite a while, and they are not realizing how much of a problem they are creating. The whole operation makes even the work of all the stakeholders even difficult, because now drugs are no longer about Chibolya. In these raids, the negative that has come out is that they've decentralized Chibolya. So you see, when you look at, for example, 2014, a raid was done, a number of people were nabbed. Fast forward, you can bring it to 2019, you can come to 2020, 2022, and one pattern that is so consistent is that the numbers that are being nabbed after a raid are always increasing in the next particular raid. So like this time around, when you look at last year, we had about 139, if not mistaken, that were nabbed. But this time around, we have 303. It's actually more than double. It's a over 100% increment. So this is worrying as a Youth Life Project, because it means we are doing a number of things wrong. This is not to shoot down at the efforts of the agencies and the officers that are trying to do this, because we know it's out of goodwill really. They have the best interest at heart. But I feel, in as much as this is a serious matter that cannot just be handled with kids' gloves, we need to be very systematic and very intentional in our approach. First of all, we need to point out that there is need for financing the whole operation. This is not an operation that can just solely be conducted by DEC and the government agencies. No. There are stakeholders like the Youth Life Project and other organizations that are very friendly to the youth and actually rooted in the ground, who can actually work with these institutions to ensure that some of these issues are actually addressed adequately. Because, see, this operation had about 3 agencies coming together. When I looked at that, immediately my response was, wow. So now we even had the police, DEC, and now we even added immigration. How I wish we also had such harmonization between DEC and health institutions. Yes, on paper, people claim so, but I'll tell you for a fact that right now when you take someone, if DEC doesn't have tools to use in their lab or whatsoever they use for the lab for them to help our patients, because I mean addiction is a sickness, but it's a conversation we're going to deal with as we continue. When DEC doesn't have the utensils to use in their lab, they will definitely do a referral to either level 1 Chilenje, UTH or Chinama. Get to Chinama, you undergo the same process. The process of that patient that is sick of malaria, that's the process that you will be subjected to. And it's a lengthy process because hospitals are always congested, or clinics are always congested. So now you're with this person who is feeling all the adverse effects of withdrawal perhaps. And they are there on the queue. After finishing the whole process, at the end of it all, now when you're about to get help or to be assisted, then they will tell you, you need to pay 450 kwacha for lab tests. From who? How? Because there are organizations like ourselves that are not funded for this cause. But we work in the community and we've made the youth our business. We want to ensure that the youth inherits, not just inheriting, but also creates a desired future. We are aware that where there's no youth, there's no future. When there's no youth, there's no country going forward. The reason why we're even doing all this is to look into it, that the potential that we harness as the youth, because in truth, we are not down. In truth, we are not incompetent. They are just some of these things because time has changed. Some time back, a child would be brought up by a community, and family blocks have now broken down. As such, they've created other problems as a ripple effect. But now, we are at this stage, and someone has to come up and address these issues, which we are proudly doing. And we look forward to partnering with relevant organizations so that we can even do more. But you see, as it happens, there are no resources and there are no organizations that step in. Now you leave it to DEC and these other agencies to do the operations. Yes, they are the mandated institutions to carry out such operations, but systematically so with proper partnerships with organizations like ourselves, we feel it can be handled better. Because look, it's not a secret, it's the public domain. The war against drugs is complex. Because look at the number of raids DEC has carried over the years, but the number keeps on increasing.
There's also another dimension to this. We've seen various countries, even countries that are advanced. There's a perspective. In fact, it has been proven that addressing drug addiction or the problem of drugs is quite expensive because the treatment that goes into it is not cheap. Now, if, for example, we're just dealing with the symptoms and not looking into the investment of trying to rehabilitate these people, how do we then make a significant progress in terms of us as a country addressing this problem? Because, true, for example, you mentioned a component of somebody requiring 450 kwacha just for lab tests, right? But there are many things that are needed apart from that. Now, this is a mother who comes in Chawama or in Mississippi, and their child has been admitted, and you expect them to go and find 450 kwacha, and on top of that, they have to compete with other needs, like buying a bag of meal, which is fetching in the range of 300 kwacha. How does a mother make a decision in such a position? Probably she's a widow also. So if you look at these problems now, how do they will just say, probably, let him be.
I'll be very honest with you. one sorry thing that we must be thinking of changing as a country, or maybe just as the media, I'll challenge you this time around. I think it's about time that you followed some of these things that we discussed on set. I mean, we've been talking, and I really wish that this rhetoric ends here. We need to see certain things done. One thing that is evident is that even DEC itself is understaffed. I can attest that there has been times when we've gone with the youth there for them to be cancelled, and there will be no officer because all the officers are in the field. What does that entail? There's no enough manpower. Also, there's need for decentralization when it comes to DEC itself. Not only are they understaffed at their offices, but now the need for us to win this war against drug abuse or substance abuse entails that there has to be some sort of decentralization. We need to have DEC officers, or at least deliberately so, DEC capacitating local organizations or even supporting them financially to set up bases or offices within the local structures of the community. For example, we now have the facility of CDF. I'll quickly delve into that. We can leverage on those resources to deliberately apportion a percentage that can be dedicated to the fight against drugs.
That was my follow-up question, because my thinking is that if this has been identified as a major problem in every community, why isn't it being prioritized when it comes to a CDF, where we are saying all the money is being channeled to?
I don't want to say it's lack of political will, but it is just alluding to the fact that we've not given it a careful thought. People have not really paid attention. You know, I think it's a problem, for example, when people get used to a crisis. I've always jokingly said that you don't get used to hunger, because then you will not see the need to work hard. You know, you don't need to get used to a crisis, otherwise you'll not see the need to change the narrative or to change things. It's about time that the issue of drugs is given all the attention that it deserves or it requires, because look how children are wasting. Just on Friday, I had 2 women. These women came to me with different cases, but both about their grandchildren. The other one is a retired nurse, the other one a retired teacher. These are not people that are coming from poverty-stricken families. These are people that are coming from what I would say at least balanced families, you know. But they're saying, my grandson, brilliant at school, good results, very humble, a very good human being, but drugs. He's wasting. I don't know what to do with him anymore. But also, this comes back to what we were promised last year, or should I say slightly over a year, because that was August 27th, 2022, when the president said he's giving us a rehabilitation center. Because notably so, one of the things that came out from the women was that some of them, they've even tried to take their children to rehabilitation centers, but they're crying, it's too expensive. It's just too expensive. The fact that we all know, it's not a secret, that fighting the war against substance abuse is a very expensive venture. This should speak volumes to organizations that are not even funded like ourselves. How we wish we had the chunk of the CDF in that case, because we've been doing this out of goodwill and just out of creativity.
Talking about CDF, have you tried maybe to apply for a component of CDF and see maybe if you can be given some funds in order to, you know, to support this noble cause?
Okay, so apparently it's now that the CDF guidelines are also being sort of upgraded, because there were lines that were not quite definitive for organizations like ourselves.
Yes, because they'll tell you cooperative.
You have to be a cooperative. Yes, so there's no space. You have to rely on a grant, but on a grant again, obviously we know how these systems work. You need to be someone who they'll really understand to be part of them or something like that. Because in all honesty, I remember even visiting the councillor's office and plainly declaring interest because of this thing that we are doing. And I was plainly told, I don't know what to do. Maybe you should try to call the people that are directly, involved with CDF, or that the ones that are able to interpret the guidelines, in other terms. So it has been a whole complex issue, but also we understand because it was the first time that we were having such a facility of CDF. You know, so obviously there are some teething problems here and there. How we wish going forward, one, to ensure things of accountability, maybe a small percentage should be given to other organizations or institutions that are relevant to see to it that the money is going to the rightful people. Two, a component that should be dedicated towards fighting the drug war or the substance, to address substance abuse. Why? Because substance abuse has got too much potential to destabilize security in our places. I mean, I don't know where you are coming from, but I'll tell you where I come from. You can't just leave even just a proper wire outside. It will be gone. You just can't leave. There are moments that we wake up. You know, we come from compounds. There are moments that you wake up and you find that all the basins that you use to put water for the toilet has actually been stolen. They've all been stolen. And who would come at 02 to just get a wretched plastic bucket? Only someone that is under the influence and they've got a pressing need to satisfy that habit. So, you know, this is something that cannot be overemphasized. Actually,
Checking our bulbs are no longer safe.
they are not safe. Actually, we are doing some basic or rather cosmetic renovations at our office recently. We have a plumber who was working on our kitchen sink. Then we even made the program. After I worked, he went and we had the program. Following day, he's coming to finish up the job. 3-4 days, the phone is off. He's not responding. I'm thinking, oh, maybe he go take us something and he will not come. The 5th day, the man comes and says, hey, I just survived. I was attacked by 15 youths. And he even shows me all these cards. And I'm thinking, this is how serious it's gotten. They are actually, it doesn't matter, even if they are as young as 10 years old, they are part of these groups that are now going around ravaging the members of the community to ensure that they get whatsoever, they lay their hands on some resources so that they can satisfy these deadly habits. So there's need, not just as people in Lusaka, but you realize that this issue of drugs. I was in Western Province recently. I had a plea from several youths that were saying, we are not okay. We are not okay because the issue of drugs is so rampant here. What can we do to address it? But now you see, members of the community, organizations and churches, various institutions, various stakeholders may be willing to look into this issue. But the fact that it doesn't come cheap, it is a deterrent. Who wants to suffer for nothing? I will tell you that not once, not twice, but several times, I have had to walk with a bunch of youths to DEC offices, and from there, given a referral letter and walk to Chainama, and from Chainama walk to the office. How many people will do that? And for what? So it's about time that one, the relevant authorities in these places look at this issue of drugs seriously. It's only about a couple of times that I'm talking about this, how I pray that someone is under the circumference of my voice right now to take some of these things serious. We will not just wake up one day and realize that 40% of the youth is gone or wasted to this vice of drugs. It will be catastrophic.
According to what we are seeing, statistics shows that that is where we are going. But let's talk about the role that the community should play. We understand that these people are coming from the communities, and every time you would find that someone is being attacked and people are walking without, helping or doing any sort of kind of assistance to that person. Let's talk about the role that the community should play before this law enforcement agency comes in.
Well, I want us to be alive to one fact. I think our community has changed drastically, because the parents that we are having now, at some point most of them were youths, and pretty much they were raised in an era that the family blocks had already started disintegrating. Every community comes from a family, stems from a family. So a family is the smallest unit of a community, where if values are upheld, then a community is safe. But now we are coming from families where children are brought up by TV. Why? Because times have changed. Parents need to find time for their weekend. They also need to find time for social media. They also need to find time for making ends meet. So there's a lot of things that are calling or demanding for attention. But that's not even to justify anything. The community has got a very important role to play when it comes to addressing these vices. Because you see, as a community, we know who is selling what and where. But also this speaks volumes to how much confidence the community have in our institutions or in our systems. Because look, the community knows that the neighbor next door maybe sells marijuana. They know. But if they report the neighbor maybe they will be brought under the law just for a short while and nothing happens. And they feel endangered.
Yes.
Because now the one that sells drugs or supplies drugs is friends to the gangs that are attacking people. And now they are safe, and now you've already stabilized those people that are under the influence or they are under the addiction, because you've sort of destabilized the flow of their substance. So who wants to endanger their lives, and for what? The community, they are lacking confidence because they don't feel protected enough. Two, on the other side of the community as well, it is what I would call negligence. Because some of us in the community are the ones that actually are renting out our one rooms, are renting out our shop spaces or our trading spaces to the people that are selling alcohol and these other substances that are going to destroy our own children again, in the name of trying to make ends meet, or these people pay well compared to a regular business. You see? So there is so much that the community needs to do, but before the community steps in, there is a lot of education that has to go through. There is a lot of assurance that must also take place, because I don't want to risk my life. If I am doing that, thank God I am brave enough to do that, but how many more people? Because I am not the community alone. The community is these whole people coming together. And I know if everyone in the community gets the confidence and the knowledge that they need, it's very easy to win this. It's very easy to win this, because even our own children who understand doing what they do is not a safe haven. I mean, sometimes I'm just so disappointed that you'll be walking in public and someone is practically smoking marijuana, and everyone is just like, balazi and stuff like that. What's that? That shows the level of disintegration, the level of how bad it has become. Because even these same tuntembas, or they call them depots, they're actually in the community, in very open spaces. Everyone knows where, what, and how it happens. So the community needs to be assured that whatever they're going to do, they're going to be safe. Because it's the same. They see thieves who get captured and just in no time come back. DEC, for example, they've put it very clear. When they capture someone, they take them to the relevant authorities. Their case ends there. They are not the ones that will arrest or sentence you or do it. It's not DEC. It's the other wing of the law that take care of that. So their control ends there. So what happens there? They are also incapacitated. I mean, there's nothing they can do. They will just be there watching. And that's how it goes. So there is need. The way the agencies are coming together to raid Chibolya, for example, they should also be alive to the fact that Chibolya is in Tendere, Chibolya is in Chawama, Chibolya is in Matero. There is Chibolya everywhere. Perhaps they should be doing that as well. Seeing that apparently, I think they are the only ones that might have little resources, even if we know there are not enough resources, but they are the ones that have little resources. How we wish if resources were enough, we can do this in a very coordinated way, that there will not be even all this thing that looks like the people are up at arms or what. It will be cooperation from point A to point Z, and people be willing to come forward and reform.
Let's have a look at this story which we covered in Chibolya, then to just give you to the extent of this problem. Like our guest had stated, it is in Chibolya, but in almost every community, the same thing is happening. So let's have a look at this story. We'll be back on the other side. Keep it on Camden TV, not just another child.
A combined team of police, Department of Immigration and the Drug Enforcement Commission have again conducted a raid on Lusaka's notorious drugs den Chibolya compound and arrested over 300 people for various offenses. The law enforcer says sanity is slowly returning to the notorious Chibolya compound following the concurrent arrests that have been conducted in the area. Officers say success has been scored in ensuring that calm is restored in the once no-go area for law enforcement agencies.
As alluded to, we shall continue to work hand in hand with other law enforcement agencies in keeping illegal activities that are going on around the site. As you can see from behind me here, that we have seized quite a number of particular quantities of cannabis and other drugs seized in Chibolya compound. This is an ongoing operation for the Drug Enforcement Commission with other law enforcement agencies, and we also working with the Immigration Department for us to curb the illegal activities that are going on in Lusaka. We shall continue to pursue the illegal activities.
Just the commission has said, as for immigration, the number is 71. Suspected prohibited immigrants who have been apprehended, and we'll continue this operation. So hoping that by the end of it will be a successful operation.
Those arrested include 9 females picked for idle and disorderly conduct, 7 picked for drugs-related offense, while 71, among them 8 females, are suspected prohibited immigrants. The suspects are aged between 15 and 80. Items recovered during the operations include 12 plasma television sets and other household goods suspected to have been stolen. Other items also include 4 motor vehicles which were found abandoned during the cleanup operation. Authorities say the cleanup operation is in line with interagency framework agreement among law enforcement agencies to curb organized crime in the country. Miriam Kaemba, reporting for Camden TV News. Thank you for still staying tuned to the Camden TV Breakfast Show. In case you've just joined us, in studio we are joined by Mr. Nkhosi, who is the Director for Youth Life Project Zambia, and is helping us discuss various issues pertaining to substance abuse in our various communities.
My follow-up question would be, as we talk about what development committees, because I think they have come to take up the responsibility of, we had chairmen on our own in our communities, whereby based on how the responsibility this person has, you will be calling them the chairman without what development committees. So because now we have these committees that are performing many functions for the communities. So now, how can we expand these communities to even add, like the way Parliament works, like a committee on drugs and substance abuse, a committee looking at education, some various committees under the World Development Committee, so that this committee should be functioning to be able to organize meetings with the community. Because what like you said, there's too much community disintegration, family disintegration, but how do we build that community togetherness so that we are able to discuss these issues before they go to law enforcement agencies?
Well, it's very true. The WDCs have replaced the chairman in our communities, and maybe the only weakness of the WDCs is that the way how they are put. I think most of them come from the ruling party. You find that this one will represent that particular section, and then they'll go for elections, and then somehow they are voted. So of course, there's some level of biasness. However, they are a very pivotal component of our communities and how the communities should function, how the communities should run. And if you look at the function of the WDC, they've got the capabilities, they harness the potential to actually address all these issues that we're talking about. Because within the structure of the WDC, you find that there's one that will come from the civil society, there will be one that will come from maybe the teaching fraternity, there will be one that will come from the church. Then now the rest, they will come from the political party. Okay, but now regardless, and also even if they're coming from the political party, but they are coming from every zone of the community, because community has got zones. So each zone is represented. Yeah. So now, if you look at the functions, they already have what they are doing, but we know they can do so much because this is an already established structure that we can actually leverage on to address some of these complex issues such as substance abuse. But then we need to be alive to the fact that the WDC is not incentivized. It's a free role members of the community will take. And really, you're not going to tell me that someone who's going to be, perhaps they are retirees or whatsoever, especially our friends from the political side of things, I don't think they are going to volunteer like you are the director at Youth Life Project or a volunteer at the Youth Life Project. We call it Voluntary 101. I don't think they are going to manage to put in all their efforts, handling resources for the community, yet you are not getting paid. I think we are exposing them to this unfair environment, which will cause them to be in police custody in no time. Why? Because the WDC, they are the ones that also who try to encourage the community to pay for taxes, they encourage the community to pay the council for whatsoever that is supposed to be done, the waste and all these other things. Now you're bringing in the issue of maybe addressing the vices of drugs. Yes, they can do that, but again we go back, it's not cheap. It's not cheap. And looking at the level at which we are moving when it comes to drugs or substance abuse, we really need a lot of, or should I say, we need concerted efforts, because there's need for the WDCs to have several engagements with various stakeholders, with the youth, with the parents, and with everyone, and as well as the relevant authorities, which may be the council and up. Of course, they have several engagements with the councillor, but there is need for them now to get to, even with DEC, because I remember one particular meeting we had under the councillor's office. We had, as a community in Kalingalinga, DEC was present, and I want to believe that we've been doing that. And one of the things that came out from that meeting was that DEC will carry out sensitizations in Kalingalinga, which I can confirm they actually did one road show in Kalingalinga. They came, but you see, these are once of things, and I don't think from such activities you will be guaranteed to initiate change or even sustain it. So when DEC, for example, prompts that, there's need for stationed officers or stationed organizations to now run that consistently to ensure that people can actually inspire change. Our office is enough. Our office is open for everyone, where if need be, we can actually be even having, we already have a program called the Sober Youth Lab, where our doors are wide open for even people under the influence. Actually, let me even take this opportunity to announce that on Friday, in conjunction with ActionAid, we have from 14 to 15:30, we are having Sober Youth Lab, where we are inviting our friends who are under the influence of these substances, or who are battling with addiction, are invited, and not under the microscope of the law, but to learn from them and see how best we can do going forward. We are also inviting stakeholders like DEC. We are also inviting stakeholders like the police and all other agencies, stakeholders from the health department. We need them in the space so that we can share, we can deliberate on these issues and see how best we can help ourselves. Why we are doing this, so that we can feed into the paper or the policy that has to go to Parliament, so that we address issues as they're supposed to be addressed. Because some of these things, you realize that the reason why perhaps we're even struggling like this is because when you look at the policy framework surrounding this whole thing, it doesn't promote or prompt synergies amongst institutions. If you ask me from the top of my head, my expectations are that when someone wants to reform, there should be some form of incentive. It may not be giving them money per se, But when they get to China, they should be one fast-tracked. They're not supposed to pay for anything. Perhaps transport or at least some food should even be available. What do people do, for example, when they are coming to, they're asking us to donate blood? For example, there'll be issues like, no, there'll be a milk here and the sugar, and sometimes people donate because they are milk and they want sugar, you know, just basic incentives. But now, because in all honesty, someone that is battling addiction, you don't expect them to have enough resources, because addiction has got the capacity to, no matter how much you have, to even run you bankrupt. That's an addiction. Now you even get to a place where you're asking the person who is supposed to be helped to even pay. In as much as, yes, it is their responsibility, they got that, they got themselves into that mess, but coming out, they need help. That's just a fact. It is just like a patient. They are sick, even if they didn't cover themselves, or they didn't use the mosquito net, then somehow they get malaria. You don't say, why didn't you protect yourself from mosquitoes? You always want to protect. That's human resource.
There's always been this notion that, you know, a lot of people, because of lack of enough sensitization, would tend to shun away, you know, to seek for help or assistance, because they feel like if they approach organizations such as yours, you might report them to DEC and they might get arrested in the process.
Well, that's a mix of many components, but one notable component is stigma. There's so much stigma attached to the substance abuse. Maybe also it is highly driven or dictated by the environments they're found in. You find that even in our own families, there is no adequate support when you're battling with some of these issues. And understandably so, it's because once you are hooked up into this vice, you become sort of a menace, because you find that you start getting things and all that, and obviously no one would want you close, really, truthfully speaking. But if there's enough support to help, I think there's, to some extent, something will change. And then also, there has been, because this is something that DEC has been trying to do for quite a while. They've been trying to rebrand. That's how come you see the education or the friendly face of DEC moving from the DEC head office to Kablonga here. Why? Because they want to rebrand, to say, DEC, there's a part of DEC that will actually, when they find you, you're in trouble. But there is another part that is interested in you, to want to encourage you to reform. So pretty much to help DEC and to help the nation at large, they are partners like ourselves that they can leverage on. Have I not proposed enough? I think I have. It's about time. Whatsoever that is descending and resources are available, bring them on. We have work to do. Let's work. We will not wake up one day until the whole community is gone. I think that will be too late. Let's do what we should, what we must now. So this friendly face of DEC has to leverage on rooted organizations, so that if even need be, our offices, for example, the YOP office has got enough office space to even attach officers from DEC, so that people should know that when you're dealing with DEC, it's just not about, hey, trafficking or abusing. It is a whole bunch of things of trying to help. Of course, when they come to our office, they just have to brace, because we sit on the floor, we don't have desks, but we still work. So we are inviting stakeholders to come through and work with us, work with DEC, work with relevant authorities and relevant organizations that are working so hard, tirelessly, day and night, to ensure that this vice is completely put off, at least significantly so.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Nkhosi, for gracing our screens. It has been a fruitful conversation. Hoping that we continue discussing this issue, so that we can equally contribute towards sharing and spreading that information. We don't know who we may reach out to, and eventually who people will eventually listen.
Exactly. Anyway, Patrick Soko, this is where we have to excuse the screens of Camet TV. But just a reminder to our viewers that do ensure you to join us tomorrow as we bring you another interesting topic. For now, it's bye-bye and stay blessed.